Nick Halsey loses his job. He worked for the company for 16 years. Management had turned a blind eye to his problems with alcohol, but they cannot ignore a certain incident at the Denver branch. The company gives him a small farewell gift and also allows him to use the company car until the end of the month. Nick sits in the car in the employee parking lot and drinks from his flask. Then he punctures his boss's tire with the Army Swiss knife the company gave him as a gift. When Nick realizes the knife is stuck, he runs off. The man stops by a store and buys a lot of beer. This is his usual way of coping with problems. Nick's mood darkens even more after a confrontation with high school students outside the store. Still, that is far from the worst thing that will happen today. Nick discovers that all his belongings have been scattered across the lawn in front of the house, and his keys no longer fit the lock. Nick's wife, Catherine, has left him a note saying that she intends to file for divorce and asking him not to look for her. The man tries to call Catherine, but to no avail. Everything crashes down on Nick at once, in a single day, as if the entire universe is against him. Nick keeps drinking while trying to sort through his things. This had been a long time coming. At some point Catherine's patience finally snapped. He spends the night outside in an armchair. The next morning begins on a discouraging note. Nick in desperation tries to save his belongings from the neighbor's lawn sprinkler. The situation is made worse by the fact that he has run out of alcohol. The man turns to his new neighbor, Samantha, who recently moved in because her husband was offered a new job. Nick asks Samantha to watch his things while he goes to the store, but unfortunately she does not have the time. The neighbor's boy, Kenny Loftus, says he saw a locksmith changing the locks at the Halsey house yesterday and Catherine crying loudly. Nick asks Kenny to keep an eye on the belongings in exchange for something tasty. The boy agrees. The man cannot find his car keys, so he rides his bicycle. The setbacks continue. All of Nick's credit cards have been blocked. He pays for his purchases with the little cash he has left. Nick leaves his wife a voicemail, asking her to call him back as soon as possible. In the meantime, the man goes to the bank to figure out what is going on. A bank employee explains that Nick's wife has frozen their joint account. Under the agreement she has the right to do so. Of course Nick did not read the agreement when he signed it. So he is left without a home, without money, without a job, and even without a car. The company decided to repossess it ahead of schedule because of Nick's stunt in the employee parking lot. Could it get any worse? Kenny, as promised, has watched the belongings. Nick hints that it is time for the boy to leave. He truly needs to be alone right now. Before leaving, Kenny hands the man the car keys that had been lying on the lawn. It's a pity they're no longer needed. Nick spends the entire day putting his things in order. A police officer arrives and demands Nick's documents. The man says he cannot provide them because they were left in the car, which technically did not belong to him. The officer explains that there has been a complaint from the neighbors that someone is living on the lawn. Nick does not understand what the problem is. It is his property. Why can he not do whatever he wants on his own land? The officer intends to take Nick to the police station. The man refuses to go, afraid that his belongings will be stolen, and asks the officer to contact Detective Frank Garcia, Nick's sponsor from Alcoholics Anonymous. Frank arrives as soon as he can. Nick should have called Garcia at the first thought of alcohol. Nick, however, believes that losing his job and his wife leaving is reason enough to drink. Catherine simply disappeared, changing the locks and even the garage code. Now Nick has absolutely nowhere to go. It is his lot, yet by law he cannot live in the yard. For now all Garcia can do is tell the guys at the station not to hassle Nick. Tomorrow they will think about how to help him in this situation. After the detective leaves, the man looks at the neighbors living full family lives and thinks about what he has lost. In the morning Garcia visits Nick again and offers to help him move. But Nick is not going anywhere. He has no money, no car, he cannot even pay his cell phone bill. Deep down Nick still hopes that Catherine will come back to him. Garcia explains that the law allows a homeowner to hold a yard sale for no more than 5 consecutive days, so Nick still has 3 days left. The man does not want to sell his belongings, but it seems he has no choice because he needs to clear everything away anyway. Nick gets started, and suggests that Kenny take part, make some signs and maybe sell a few things. In return the man promises to pay the boy, but Kenny has another condition. Nick will teach him how to play baseball. The boy really wants to make the school team. Nick agrees. While the man sits in the armchair drinking beer, Kenny sorts through the belongings. Meanwhile pregnant Samantha is upset that her husband Jack still has not arrived. She moved first, while he settles work matters. It is very hard for Nick to part with his things, so for now the yard sale is failing. Even Kenny, despite his young age, understands that this will not work. Since Nick cannot even use his own phone, he asks Samantha for permission to make a call from her place to order food. Samantha is so kind that she even gives him clean dishes. Nick invites her to have dinner with him. The woman agrees, feeling lonely in a city where she knows no one. That is how they get to know each other better. Nick talks about his father, who was a drunk. Samantha in turn speaks about her passion for photography. At one point she managed to sell several of her works, but unfortunately she never became wealthy. So before her pregnancy, Samantha worked as a teacher. When asked about his job, Nick says that until yesterday he was a regional vice president at a very large corporation and traveled the world extensively. Nick does not have children, but he does have fish. Samantha cannot help but ask why all his belongings are in the yard. The man replies that he had not drunk for 6 months, then relapsed during the celebration of a successful deal in Denver and cheated on his wife with a colleague. After that night, the woman went to the police, claiming it had not been consensual. From that moment on, everything began to fall apart. Samantha wants to know whether Nick really did what he described. The man says he was so drunk that he does not remember. Samantha hurries to end the conversation. Nick hands her a fortune cookie. Teenage troublemakers steal several of Nick's belongings. Quite drunk, the man spies on his neighbors, a married couple. In the morning Nick rings their doorbell and simply smiles mysteriously, hinting that he knows their dirty secret. Later, while Nick listens to old songs and grows nostalgic for his past life, Kenny sells the items. Nick, having extensive experience in sales, notes that the boy has talent. The man remembers his promise and gives Kenny his first baseball lessons. The boy could play rugby, but his mother does not allow him to. Seeing Samantha, Nick walks up to her and gives her a Polaroid camera that once belonged to his mother. The woman is genuinely touched. Kenny considers Nick his older friend. In fact, Kenny does not have many friends at school. He admits that he does not take part in sports because he feels embarrassed being in the locker room. Other boys tease him because of his extra weight. Nick advises Kenny to live without looking back at other people's opinions and to achieve his goals at any cost. Although Nick himself is not like that. Inspired by his conversations with Kenny, Nick calls his boss Gary and apologizes for the punctured tire, hoping to somehow fix the situation and perhaps get another chance at his job. But Gary of course hangs up. Nick watches old videos from the family archive, thinking about all the missed opportunities. The next day, as Kenny continues sorting through the belongings, he finds Nick's yearbook and points out how happy he looks in the photo. The boy asks what happened. Nick answers sadly that life happened. After so many years, the man remembers his classmate Delilah. He has her mother's number and calls, lying to the woman that a reunion is being planned and that they all want to get in touch with Delilah. Having obtained her address, Nick goes there. Delilah clearly did not expect to see her former classmate on her doorstep. They have not seen each other for many years. But Delilah is glad about the visit. They chat, talking about how their lives have turned out. Delilah is a single mother. Her ex-husband could not handle the responsibility and left. Nick says he is married and that he and his wife are still waiting for the right moment to have children. Delilah jokes that the right moment never comes. Remembering their youth, which is gone forever, both feel a slight sadness. They wish their lives had turned out differently. As they say goodbye, Delilah tells Nick that he has a kind heart, and that does not change. Perhaps they will meet again someday and have coffee. Delilah senses that Nick is not okay, but she believes that things will still work out for him. Nick runs out of money, so he can no longer buy beer. He even tries to beg, but few people feel inclined to help some alcoholic. Nick begins to experience withdrawal. Seeing him suffer, Samantha gives him a sedative. The woman also advises Nick to seek professional help, because one cannot live like this. The man responds rudely, saying that neither she nor anyone else is better than him. The only difference is that he does not hide at home. Samantha asks him to explain what he means. Nick says that Samantha sacrifices everything for her husband, who not only drinks, but is also not with her now. Nick saw right through her, even though she had never once mentioned Jack's alcoholism. These words deeply hurt Samantha. Nick advises her to hang curtains on the windows, not so that he will not see her, but so that she will not see her own future. Waking up in the morning, he discovers that Kenny has made breakfast, laid everything out neatly and put price tags on the items. The boy says that with price tags, customers will feel more comfortable, and that this way they can attract more people. The man sincerely thanks him. Garcia visits Nick again to make sure he is as all right as possible. Seeing that Nick is selling his belongings, the detective says it is a good start and that he is proud of him. Nick truly appreciates that someone cares. Kenny turned out to be right. By evening almost all the items are gone. Having gathered his courage, Nick goes to Samantha to apologize for his words the night before. He is genuinely sorry. But Samantha understands that Nick was right. Yesterday she called her husband and gave him an ultimatum. Either he comes immediately, or they get divorced. Nick offers Samantha a taste of real Mexican cuisine in Arizona. It's Kenny's treat. She cannot hold back a smile. They go to a restaurant. Samantha admits that she is not sure she is ready for motherhood. But hardly anyone is ever truly ready in advance. In the restroom, Nick runs into his former boss, Gary, who mentions that the woman who went to the police after the incident in Denver has been fired. It turned out that Nick was not the only one she had blackmailed. If Nick had not punctured Gary's tire, he would have been rehired and even received compensation. Nick realizes there is no point in regretting what he has done, because the past cannot be changed. The man goes to the police station to meet Garcia. While the detective steps away for coffee, his phone rings. Sensing something is wrong, Nick picks up and hears the voice of his ex-wife, Catherine. He only wants to know why the person he considered his friend did this to him. Garcia assures him that everything is not as it seems. Catherine needed support, she had no one else to turn to. Garcia believes that she deserves better than an alcoholic husband who cheated on her. Frank gives Nick a ride and asks him what he thinks the percentage of successful marriages is when one spouse drinks and the other does not. The answer is obvious. It was Garcia who insisted that Catherine leave Nick, otherwise nothing good would have awaited her. Nick demands that Frank stop the car. Garcia calmly says that Catherine wants a divorce and hands him the papers, the house keys and money for expenses. Catherine wants to settle everything peacefully. If Nick signs the documents, he will receive his share. Nick asks Frank to tell Catherine that he is sorry, and then he leaves. The man stops by the store where he used to buy beer, but he walks past it. He returns to his empty house. The next morning Kenny shows up and gives Nick the profit from the yard sale. Nick gives the boy his share, and then much more. Both hope this will not be their last meeting. Perhaps someday they will play baseball together again. Samantha finally reunites with her husband. That same evening she visits Nick, and they hug. Samantha hands him a Polaroid photograph of himself. Attached to the picture is a note from a fortune cookie: everything is not yet lost. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.